All right, well, welcome to Go Groundwork. This is going to be session number 7. We're going to talk about lead generating with social media. I want to start by saying that this actual presentation and the data contained within are about 2 years old right now. So until we have the most current revision, understand some of these numbers may not look quite right, but we'll try to address that when we get there. So let's first start with, as we do with every groundwork session, we'd like to start with a mindset piece. So today we're going to talk about limiting beliefs. It's one of the things that I think is the most important things we can do for our careers, is to learn how to eliminate limiting beliefs, okay? And then after this, we're going to get into the social media and how it works with our business, right? The question today that I really want everyone to think about is, what plan will you put into place to handle your limiting beliefs? Let's talk about those. So do any of these sound familiar? I don't want to bother them. I don't know what to say to somebody when I call them. And I just don't know enough yet. Or that doesn't sound like me. And so on. Right? Those are limiting beliefs. So a limiting belief is a thought that you think when the absolute truth, is a thought you think is the absolute truth, and it stops you from taking action. These are the thoughts that stop you from chasing your dreams, having healthy relationships, or being successful. And finally, they keep us in our comfort zone. So let's talk about this a little bit. Specifically here, a thought that you think is the truth and it stops you from doing something. So one of the things that I've seen since I started in real estate is, and it's just no secret here, there's a high attrition rate in our world. And I really think that the vast majority of it comes from people who give in to those limiting beliefs, and it causes atrophy, right? So we know the law of the database. It's pretty simple. Every agent, at least that I know, and I know a lot, their number one source of business is their database, right? It's people that you already know. It's people that already like you and trust you, or better. And yet, there's a fear that agents have about reaching out to these people, whether it's in person, whether it's a phone call. I'm a big fan of one of those too, by the way, because it encourages two-way conversation. And so much of our communication is tonality, right? It isn't necessarily the words that we use, but the manner in which we say them. It's things like body language, smiling, makes a big difference, right? And this is kind of the challenge that I personally have with just texting people. Now, I absolutely understand that there are going to be people in your world that are just prolific texters, and that's fine. If you know somebody is just, hey, I'm a texter, that's what I do, then okay, you can text them most of the time. I'm still going to advocate for a phone call at a minimum, okay? But specifically with limiting beliefs, understand this. If you're saying one of these 4 things, I don't want to bother them, I don't know what to say, I don't know enough yet, or that doesn't sound like me, what's the common thing in these 4 statements? And I can tell you, it's the I, it's me. If you're saying these things, you're making yourself the center. And this is where you're going wrong. If you're ever saying things like this, quit thinking about yourself, because you must understand there are people out there in this world, you probably know a lot of them, and they need your help. But they don't know that you are the answer to whatever they need. It's your job to find them, right? So instead of thinking about what doesn't sound like you, how about you think about what you can do for them? Make it about them. Very simple mindset switch. That'll help remove limiting beliefs, right? I would say for years, I considered myself as somebody just who had huge stage fright. Never ever would I get in front of a class or in front of a camera and do what I'm doing right now. And yet, here I am. And, I'm not bragging, not at all. I'm just saying it. This is an example of overcoming a limiting belief. Because I believe this. I believe that if I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it. So, and people think that's interesting. I routinely present in front of fairly large audiences, maybe not thousands, but I've probably hit 100 a couple of times. And, I didn't feel uncomfortable first couple of times maybe. But it all comes down to understanding that when you're presenting or teaching a class or a seminar with your real estate clients or just calling people on the phone, it isn't about you. It's about the message that you're giving. So understand that, and I think that will help. That'll go a long way. Because call reluctance is real. And it's real whether you are brand new to real estate or you're very experienced. Very few agents just don't have it, right? I'd say it's a chore for most agents until you make the first couple of calls in the day or in your lead generation session. Until you've made a couple, it's going to feel a little bit weird, right? So when you don't know what to say, fix that first, right? What's my message today? Right? What is the market telling you the message should be? Right? It's not that hard to do. Just understand that it's a limiting belief, and your success is critical in getting rid of that. So, all right, so we'll move on. I probably covered a lot of this. Where do these beliefs come from? Family values and beliefs. This was interesting to me. I guess I never really had a family culture of limiting beliefs, but I've come to learn that is a thing. Right? I'm very grateful for that. I'm the grandson of immigrants. So another interesting fact about me is I'm the first generation in my dad's side of the family that speaks English as a first language. And so, when you're the product of that, and you see where your ancestors came from, how recently that was, and where they, when they come from absolutely nothing and make something of that opportunity, I'm very grateful that, my family was always encouraging. So there's that. Life experience, right? Have you been beat down enough that, somebody's told you that you're not good enough? Maybe it's not a family member. Maybe it's just lifing, right? Education. Well, I never went to college. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not an expert. Don't quote me, I don't know. And you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to be very, very intelligent and very successful. How do you identify these? Well, reflect on your behavior to find the cause. So introspection, which that's tough. Write both your general and detailed beliefs down. And this is going to help you identify the ones that are really holding you back. So this really isn't an exercise in this presentation, but it's always worth a quick discussion. What is it that motivates you? Why did you choose real estate? You could have gone into any field. Why did you choose real estate? What is it specifically? What does real estate specifically allow you to do for others, right, that maybe other fields don't give you that opportunity to do? So let that inform your beliefs, right? What are the things that are your non-negotiables, okay? What do you want to be known for when your time has come and gone? And a little hack here, ChatGPT or one of the AI models, if you will tell it those kinds of things, it will really help you hone in and identify on things like a mission statement, things like a value statement or a vision statement, right? And I don't mean that to say that I want you to go do a bunch of corporate mumbo jumbo, right? But we'll think about it like this. If somebody asks you, hey, what do you do for a living? I want you to have an answer for it. And I don't want that answer to be, I'm a realtor. Because here's the thing. In reality, We all know a ton of realtors. We just do. You need to put forward, you need to lead with what it is that makes you and your business and your vision and your mission special, right? So maybe you say, I build wealth and I do it through real estate. That's kind of my thing, right? I've heard of an agent in out of state. I want to say California, and this has been a few years back, so the details are fuzzy. What isn't fuzzy, though, is this person, this agent, very successful agent, every message that she gives, whether it's a marketing piece, whether it's, listing presentation, why should you hire me, whether it's just in an elevator, right? Her reason for business, her ultimate mission, her heart, she has a big heart for like stray animals, homeless animals. So everything that her core business is that she gives a lot of her commissions and her compensation away to, like local animal rescue, animal foster stuff. So, her message is something like, hey, well, when you work with me, you help save the life of innocent pets, right? So, whatever it is that you hold close to your heart, this life is bigger than business. Work and your career is not everything, and you need fulfillment. So whatever it is that drives you, any pet projects like that, don't discount how important those are. And that's an especially important thing as it relates to what we're about to talk about, which is social media, right? What kind of message is going to resonate in social media? And I got to say, helping homeless pets, and that's huge, right? I mean, who wouldn't click on a Facebook ad or an Instagram post about helping homeless animals, right? All right, and number 3 is make a list of things that challenge you. And this can help you see patterns so that you can help disrupt them. Yeah. Interesting thing, the human brain is really, really good at picking out patterns. And if you really think about that, that's how conspiracy theories think, or how they get started, right? People see patterns where maybe they don't exist. So hopefully that's not too hard for you. So 3 tips to overcome limiting beliefs, right? So ask what would happen if your limiting belief is wrong. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you're comfortable, you're stagnant. The best sign of growth, personal growth, spiritual growth, career growth, is when you are not comfortable. That means you're learning, or that means you're getting better. So I know we always look for comfort, and I'm the number 1 offender at that. I love it, but it's not good for you. Take a negative belief that you might have and rewrite it positively. Write it down. Example, saying, I don't want to bother them, turns into, how can I be of value to them? What value can I bring them? Right, so that's going to be an exercise that I want you to do and be thinking about really today. Turn one of your limiting beliefs into a positive. Okay, so we're going to get into the actual meat and potatoes here, as I like to call it, so social media and your business. You do not have to have social media to be successful in your business. What do you think of that? I mean, it's true, because we see agents who have no presence on social media. I would also say that if that's going to be the case, you better be really, really, really good and purposeful at prospecting, right? Because you're not casting a wide enough net. Everything you do is face-to-face, voice-to-voice. And, I started the session by telling you that I think that's the number 1 skill you need to have. So that's why this is the thing. You don't actually have to have social media to be successful. However, it will limit how far you can go. It will limit your growth. So the role of social media, there's 4 of them. Number 1 is going to be marketing houses and yourself. So it's marketing, right? It's putting a message out there. It's the largest net that we have ever been able to cast that allows us to meet people. right? You know, I don't even know how many friends I have in each, or connections I have in each of my social media platforms, but I can tell you it's a lot more people than I have that are, actual friends that I truly know on a deep level, right? And this is just friends. We're not even talking about paid ads or, boosted posts, things that will put you in front of people that you don't already know. And social media lets you do that because it's how they monetize. It's how they make money. It'll help you build relationships with the people that you already do know, right? It helps people get to know you. So let's talk first about Facebook. They rebranded as Meta a few years ago, part of the metaverse, Facebook and Instagram together. As of when this material was written, almost 3 billion monthly active users worldwide. I'm sure that number has changed quite a bit since then. 243.6 million active users in the United States. And if you don't know this, I think the latest thing I've heard is that our population is in the 320 to 330 million range. So what is that? Quick math, two-thirds plus, right, of Americans are on it actively. The age group that's most represented is from 25 to 44. Be curious to see if that's shifting up. I feel like it is. You have a separate business and separate personal pages. Now that's important. So one of the first things you should do as a new agent, or if you're an agent that's just new to social media in general, is if you just don't have anything, you would create a personal Facebook page, right? Once you're at that point, or I think probably most of us have a personal Facebook page, once you're logged into that personal Facebook page, you can then go and create another business page. And it's done using the same login. This is super important. Don't make the mistake of logging out of Facebook to go create a whole new account with a whole new email address so that you're completely separate. You don't want to do that because it's going to limit your reach, and it just creates all kinds of trouble with connecting Facebook to other platforms. So, but they are separate pages. So you have your personal page, and you have your business page. And even though they're connected with a single login, they are separate experiences. Okay. Instagram is different, by the way, which is why I went into this. You can run ads through our command platform, and you should. 66% of visitors visited the local business page at least once a week. Most of those are going to be through a paid Facebook ad. And then I think Facebook is probably the most diverse as far as categories that it works with. So you have normal posts, right? Kind of what we all know and what's been there since day one. But then we have stories and reels, we have video, we have Facebook Live. And then you have groups. Groups can be public and they can be private. So if you're an agent at our market center, we have a private Facebook group for just our market center. But you can have public groups, right? You can create Facebook groups for like your VIP clients. I mean, you could do all kinds of stuff with Facebook. All right, so YouTube, my favorite. Not because I like going on camera, by the way. So here's the thing with YouTube is it's owned by Google, right? Sorry, I don't want a copyright strike. I'm just gonna unplug that. So it's owned by Google. So if you ever search anything on Google, YouTube results are going to be right there on the page, right? 2.527 billion monthly active users, so almost as big as Facebook. I truly believe that it's much more than that now. It's the second most used search engine behind Google. I've heard it's number one. I don't know how true that is, because where would that stat come from? It would come from Google. Why would Google say, hey, actually YouTube is number one? I don't know. 77% of the people on the platform are between the ages of 15 and 35. Yeah, for sure. So like my son is 15, and man, this guy has loved YouTube since he could turn on the TV. And I don't know how he watches some of the things that he watches, but that's a different story. 70% of viewers have bought from a brand after seeing it on YouTube. Look at that number again, 70%. Yeah, that's just incredible, right? How do YouTubers make a lot of their income? They sell merchandise. Okay, Instagram. Also part of the metaverse. So don't quote me on the year it happened, but Facebook bought Instagram. It's been many years ago now. And I believe they bought it for $1 billion, which was at the time was just staggering. And now it looks like the deal of the century, right? 1.62 billion monthly active users, and this is a younger demo, right? 18 to 34. I believe that's very much the case. So my daughter is 16, and she has an Instagram account for her little business that she's doing, right? I'm quite the little entrepreneur, and Instagram has been huge for her, right? Now, unlike Facebook, you do not have a separate business and personal page. So if you're an existing Instagram user, and if you're not, you should be, right? You're going to create, or you log into your own account, you go into the settings, and then you will convert it to a professional account. That's how you do it. And you need to do this because if you don't, you can't run any paid ads. And I neglected to mention that talking about the Facebook business page. Same thing. You cannot run, some people ask, well, why should I even do a separate business page for Facebook? That sounds like a lot. Why don't I just put everything on my personal page? And the answer is, you can't do any kind of paid ads on a personal page. And trust me, you want to be able to do that. On average, Instagram business accounts see a follower growth of 1.7% each month. So every month you add 1.7% more people if you do it right. That's pretty cool. And 44% of users shop on Instagram weekly. I'm talking to you, Holly, my wife. Content with strong visual identity is key. So this is the deal, right? And if you see, Instagram's logo is it started as an old Polaroid camera, and then it morphed into this. But that's always been the point with Instagram is it started as photo sharing, right? Like you can't just go type a post out on Instagram. There's got to be a movie, there's got to be some type of a photo or a graphic, something like that, right? So strong visual identity is key. It's not just key, it's required, right? And then of course, as to the types of things that you can do, stories, posts, reels, Instagram Live, Instagram video, yeah. All right, TikTok. So TikTok is launched in 2016. It currently has 1 billion active monthly users, and I believe that stat is very outdated. And this one is interesting, right? So TikTok actually beat Facebook's record for getting to 1 billion users the fastest, which is incredible considering that Facebook was one of the firsts. 43% of its users are younger demographic, 18 to 24, including both of my children, much to my chagrin. Their ads reach 1 billion adults per month. 5 years ago now, it was the top downloaded app, and I do believe that's still the case. Here's the thing, the algorithm is uniquely addictive. And the idea is to keep you on the platform longer. Doom scrolling. And this is all going to be short videos. 15, 60 seconds, up to 3 minutes. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize something. Currently, we're kind of in limbo with TikTok. The United States legislature has passed some laws here, or a law that at the least it prohibits certain people from being able to even have it on their phone, namely federal employees, like in law enforcement. They can't even have it on their phone. And that it has to do with who owns TikTok and how that data is being mined. There are lots of concerns around that right now. So, yeah, I don't want to get into anything, I don't want to make any statements on that, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, there's a concerted effort to get rid of TikTok, and it's kind of been saved at the last 11th hour, and so I don't know what the future holds for TikTok. We'll see. All right, so now we're going to actually talk about that big scary word, which is algorithms, and I want to start by saying that I think very few people know what the actual algorithms are, and if they do, they're certainly not ever going to talk about it. But they're a set of rules and signals that automatically rank content on a social media platform, and it's based on how likely each user is to like it and to interact with it, right? So, you'll notice that you see things like this is Facebook suggested for you, Instagram suggested post, right? That's based on what you stop and look at. As if you stop on anything for even, honestly, I think at this point for even a fraction of a second, maybe it's a second, social media companies, they call that they refer to that as an impression. In other words, as I look here at the dodo, which I got to tell you, I like the dodo because I think pets are awesome. I love animals. And so, this isn't my social media feed, but it could be, because I tend to just stop on this. And if you stop and look at any part of this, that's an impression. In other words, that post made an impression on you enough to stop the scroll. And this is important that you hear. Stopping the scroll is the number one result that you're looking for on anything you do in social media in the business world, right? If people are just scrolling right on past your content is ineffective. You can't make that impression on them. You certainly can't get them to click on anything to hear whatever message you want them to hear. So remember that. So let's talk about the Facebook algorithms, right? So connections. The user's feed. Your feed is going to be mostly filled with people or pages that you follow and interact with, right? Users that watch more video are going to see more video. True. So in engagement level, popular posts with lots of engagement are more likely to be seen, especially if that engagement is from people that you interact with, right? Most people have that one Facebook friend that no matter what they post, you always see it, and there's a ton of comments, there's a ton of shares and likes and all those reactions, and that's why you see it, is because that person that's posting like that is posting stuff that people are stopping to see. And then content quality. So Facebook says that meaningful, informative, accurate, and authentic content will be seen more. I don't know if that's true, but they say it's true, okay? Let's talk about YouTube. Performance. So YouTube, they are looking at what they call click-through rates. They're looking at the average view duration of a user, and they're looking at the average percentage of reviews, likes, dislikes, and surveys. I don't even know if it's been a while since I've seen a YouTube survey. But what you have to remember is that YouTube is ad supported, right? And so are the content creators. So, if a content creator can't keep people long enough on their platform or on their videos, Facebook is not going to try to monetize that with an ad because it's just not effective, right? Personalization. So they offer videos to users that they think are relevant to their interests, and this is based on their past behavior. So if you like to look at, like me, videos of people doing great things with cars or airplanes or stuff, that's what my YouTube feed looks like, I'll be honest, right? And YouTube does a great job of putting more of what it thinks I want to see in front of me. And you can see how fast this works, right? A couple of months ago, I stumbled across a video, probably from the algorithm, of this guy making a table, right? Now, I know you're like, a table? How boring can that be? But this guy took like this giant slab of wood from a tree. I think he said it was like $15,000. And I mean, he was doing all this amazing stuff with like resin and lights, and I thought it was fantastic. So of course I watched the whole video and I was like, wow, this blows me away. Because people that are artists that have that creative mind, I don't have that at all. So, I see that as, I'm impressed by it, right? Because I can't do it. Anyway, I watched the whole video, and as soon as that video is over, and I go back to my feed, the whole recommended section is nothing but table building now. So that's how fast it works. It's pretty interesting. Keywords. So the keywords that the creator adds to the video's metadata to decide what the video is about, and then offers it to users that have an interest in that topic. So here's what that means. It means when the YouTube creator puts in that description, whatever words they use, it categorizes based on that, and that's what helps YouTube's algorithm know what the actual video is about. Now, I suspect that AI is making a big change here, right? Because the AI is able to crawl this stuff, and I don't know what they do, it's magic, right? But it's able to figure out how to categorize things. All right, Instagram's algorithms. All right, so the relationships actually do matter. You're going to see content from people you know, follow, message, or otherwise engage with. Yeah. Interests rule. So you're going to see things that you show interest in. For an example, you engage with home decor content, and you're going to see more of the same. Sounds like every algorithm, right? Topics that are timely or trendy. Yeah. What is it called? Instagram famous? You're trending on Instagram. And then, of course, popularity, the ability for something to go viral. If Instagram's systems see a whole bunch of people are watching a specific video, it's going to start pushing that to everybody. TikTok. Previous interactions. So any content that you've engaged with, accounts you follow, or even hidden. The behavior on the discovery tag. So they analyze content characteristics like captions, sound, effects, trending topics, stuff like that. It tries to understand your behavior. Content from your own country and in your language is going to be preferred. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Trends using their sounds and effects can help your content and make it more discoverable. And that's one of the things with TikTok is, they have these templates, so to speak, right? And or audio tracks that you can just easily drop your little content in, and it can make it funny, and yeah, there you go. If you do that, it likes you. And then follower count doesn't matter, and this is a very big distinction between it and other platforms. Yeah, it only really looks at what's blowing up. If it's blowing up, it gets pushed to everybody. Doesn't matter how cool you think you are. This platform is designed to showcase new content rather than showing content from people that you already follow. Yeah, gotta stay fresh. 10 content ideas. So before we get into that, I just want to say that there is something that's missing here. And I don't know why, but that is X, formerly known as Twitter, right? There are agents that work on X that do great things, right? So Can't tell you much about the content ideas. Hashtags are important in X.com. Certainly trending is a thing. So that may or may not be a world that you want to get into, but it is social media, and it is really, really big. And you can do advertisements on it. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with X also. So just so you know. Content ideas, right? There are people less qualified than you doing the things you want to do simply because they believed in themselves and took action in the direction of their dreams. I love that. Well, doesn't that speak to how to remove limiting beliefs? I didn't choose the taco life chose me. Yeah, there we go. So, what can we do? We can teach something. Entertain others. If you think you're funny, go be funny. Inform them about a topic of interest, right? What is it that's important to you? What did you find that was really interesting that maybe you didn't know before? The whole, today I was this years old when I figured out blah, blah, blah. You can inspire people. Stories, quotes, articles. Ask a question. Better yet, answer a question. Spotlight a vendor. I have a friend of mine and client of mine who's a restaurant owner, and I love to spotlight his restaurants, right? Because, you know, it's important to me. I want to make sure that the people I care about are successful, and vice versa, right? Start a weekly or a monthly series. Give people a reason to tune back in. That's especially the case on YouTube, right? So one of the things about YouTube is, and I know we didn't talk about this a minute ago, but YouTube is the one that will pay you, right? If you can get big enough and you can get enough people following you, watching your content, subscribing to your channel, eventually you can monetize that. Pretty cool. Now, you can't do it if you're not consistent. Host an Ask Me Anything or a Q&A. Do you think that people might have questions about the real estate market or how to buy a house if they've never bought one before? Maybe some things that they might want to do to sell a house. That'd be pretty cool. Allow your audience to get to know you. I look at that and I say, just be authentic. You know, I don't think you have to, well, I know you don't have to be perfect, right? First off, never strive for perfection, because that's the enemy of greatness. And as long as you're you, you know, when you're just being you, you're not wearing a mask, you're not putting up something that you're not, you never have to worry about coming off as inauthentic or saying something wrong, right? So yeah, and people appreciate that. They're not necessarily looking for an expert as much as they're looking for somebody who's honest. You might still be the expert, and I hope you are. And then lastly, run a contest, run a giveaway, right? If you're looking for engagement, that's a great way to do it. You know, some of the car YouTubers that I watch have started giving away, basically raffling off cars. And some of these cars are, like, I've seen Ferraris, I've seen Lamborghinis. I mean, we're talking expensive stuff. It must be pretty successful getting people to buy raffle tickets or whatnot. So I certainly know that stuff works. All right, now let's talk about creating a social media strategy. So obviously, like anything else, you want to set a clear goal and an objective. Because if you don't do that, how are you going to measure your success? So for an example, maybe your goal is that you're going to increase your number of followers, or you're going to increase traffic to a website. You want to learn as much as you can about your audience. This allows you to tailor your content to them. So this is a huge deal. Not only is this huge for social media, this is any type of marketing. In fact, I would even say that when you list a home, you want to already know who your buyer is, right? That allows you to craft a message that goes straight to that person and tells them the message that they need to hear. And this is for anything that you post on social media. This is for any videos that you might do on YouTube, any of that kind of stuff, right? Do you know who your audience is? Who do you resonate to? Who are you actually speaking to, right? So I know if I look at the clients that I've served, I can pick up some common things. And what those things are is, a lot of them are pretty much like me. So, when you're talking about a social media strategy, the first thing you do is understand who you are, who are your friend group, who's your peer group, and realize that, naturally speaking, that is the person that you're speaking to on the other side of the system, okay? You could even name them. So one of our agents, wonderful agent here, has crafted her own Instagram. She calls it an avatar. She knows everything about this person. She's named this person. She can tell you how old she is. She's married, how many kids she has, and so on and so on and so forth. And because she's always talking to that one person, everybody who fits into that persona feels like that person's being spoken to directly by this agent, and that's why she's been so successful. Check out other real estate agents to find inspiration. Your competition and fellow agents here, like I was saying, who are known for their social media. Do a self-audit of all your social media accounts and ask yourself a couple of questions. What's working? What's not working? What does your engagement actually look like? Is my audience even on this platform? Yeah. If not, where are they? So, let's say your business is catering entirely towards seniors, and you're on TikTok, right? How many people that are your target audience are actually on TikTok if you're targeting seniors, or vice versa, right? Can I use this platform to achieve my goals, right? So we talked about in depth, we talked about 4 platforms. You do not have to use all 4 platforms, right? Typically, what I see is that people have success focusing on a single platform, and then maybe morphing a second platform. And I see a lot of people that are big on the YouTube world. They'll have an Instagram also because it's got that strong visual identity, right? So if you're creating a bunch of YouTube videos, you've already got great video that you've done, so post a snippet of it over onto Instagram. Instagram is easier for two-way communication because of the direct messages, right? That'd be a great way to augment a YouTube strategy. Decide which platforms you're going to use, maximize your profiles, use keywords people would use to search for your business. Yeah. Create a social media content calendar and set your posting schedule. So you can post, you can create as much as you want as far as the content goes, and all the social media platforms will allow you to just directly, you can go and schedule when those posts are going to happen, right? So if you want to make, let's say Sunday, why not? Let's say Sunday is going to be when you time block to create all your content pieces for the week. What videos are going to go out? What posts am I going to do? Who do I say happy birthday to? Blah, blah, blah. You could spend time doing all that work, and then you can load it up into your social media platform so that this piece drops on Wednesday, this piece drops on Friday, etc. Right? That allows you to spend focused time on what you know you need to accomplish in the social media and in the marketing world, and then that's it for the week. You don't have to stop and do anything else, or stop from whatever things you're doing, hopefully lead generating, or better yet, going on appointments. You don't have to stop to go do social media stuff, right? So it ensures that you never neglect either one of those. Use the 80-20 rule or the rule of thirds. Track performance and make adjustments as needed. And so this is important, right? Because this is the thing. All of these social media platforms have metrics. Probably more metrics than you want to look at, but they're there. And you need to be looking at them, right? Inspect what you inspect what you expect, pardon me. And make sure that if you're spending money on social media content or ads, make sure it's worth it. So let's not forget about Trek's rules with regards to advertising. So remember, Trek's requirements, that's not just print and signage, but it's all social media. So the number one thing that agents do wrong is this. You're required by Trek to post 2 things on all of your social media platforms if you even breathe the topic of real estate. So in my opinion, this goes on your personal pages on Facebook, it goes on all your business pages, it goes on YouTube, everything that you do if you even breathe real estate. And these 2 things are your IABS and the Consumer Protection Notice. Super important. That's a requirement from Trek and obviously every broker. All right, today's success list, this is what your homework is. Yay, did you know you had homework? We're going to complete the 5 to Thrive. By the way, and I should probably go ahead and put this when we're done in the video description. I'll put a link to today's workbook. Complete the 5 to Thrive. Set up or maximize the social media platforms that you're going to be using. So if you haven't created a business page on Facebook, that's probably the easiest one. Announce on your page that you're a realtor if you haven't already. Add a time block for social media planning and implementation. So that was that Sunday thing I talked about. What day you do it is up to you. Follow things like Lab Code Agents, Hootsuite, Drunk on Social Media. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. Be careful. There are a lot of Facebooks especially. I'm seeing more and more Facebook groups that pop up, and it's always the same person. And it's just a recruiting strategy. So, I would say you should definitely follow Marty Miller, who's a KW Tech trainer like me. I would follow the people at Scott Leroy. I would follow, well, you'll learn, right? Fellow realtors, people that you have respect for. And then, of course, as you're announcing on your page that you're a realtor, make sure you have your IABS and your Consumer Protection Notice posted. You can just post them as photos. You don't have to put them in a special place. As long as they're on there, that's fine. So here's our 5 to Thrive for today. I want you to think about, I would even say write down 5 things that you're grateful for today. One of them, at least one of them being somebody, a person, okay? Gratitude is the highest form of energy. If you're ever having a bad day, stop and think about what you're grateful for. And it's just amazing how it'll turn you around. Have 5 voice-to-voice or face-to-face conversations with somebody that you already know. I want you to have 5 two-way text conversations. So how many is that total? That's 10. 10 voice-to-voice or face-to-face, right? And texts. Add 5 people to your database and do 5 handwritten notes. Hey, I'm going to tell you, what do you think the hardest thing in here is? Adding 5 people to your database. 5 people you don't know to your database. If you could add 1 person to your database every single day, you would be amazingly successful. All right, and that's really all I have for you today. Some things coming up are I mentioned him earlier, the Marty Miller, the 66-day challenge. The reason why that is great is because we say we know that it takes 66 days to create a habit, right? And we also know that the number one way to be successful in real estate is by working your database, because your database is your business. So over the next 66 days, if you will go and work the Marty Miller 66-day challenge, you will create a habit of doing the things that are going to make you successful using the technology that we have. It's really good. And then Thursdays at 2, we have our broker chat with our broker, Ann LaCosta, and that is on Zoom. So that's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for your time. I hope it was a worthwhile investment, and we'll see you for the next